is another episode of the Backstage Sports Podcast. I'm Joe Connor.
I am JT Harker.
And today we have a very special guest that JT Harker is
Yes,
going
we
to
do.
introduce to us.
We have my boy, Texas native, played high school football in the mecca of all high school football, Texas Tech, Texas Tech alumni. Also a walk-on at Texas Tech, but we have a story that I want everyone to know that you told me years ago about your experience with the Texas Tech football program. Personal trainer to the stars, my former roommate as well.
Oh, wow.
And
all true.
One of the best dudes I know and one of the most intelligent dudes I know, Mr. Ryan Farhoudi. What's up, brother?
What's up?
Woo! Hi, guys. Thank y'all for having me. This is a real treat. I love a podcast.
Yeah.
And sports.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
for coming on.
So, dude, I want – what's up?
I wanted to ask you guys really quickly.
You're
just
asking
so I
the
have
questions
a little bit
now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just am curious to know if y'all's format is always the same, or is this like a bar fight? You know, bottles are breaking, chairs are breaking. It's different every time. Or is there like
we have a format, but it's basically we just get on and start talking. I mean, it's
Love
a sports. Get this. It's a sports-based podcast called Backstage Sports because first of all, if you don't know, Ryan, Joe has been drumming with me for 5, 6,
Forever.
7 years now.
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
love it.
He's my main dude with the band. Actually, at this point now, we're the only original guys in this band, right?
Yeah.
But we always,
stick.
we talk about sports all the time backstage. That's how we got our name, and we actually even argue about it on stage, which is not professional at all. And we had the ongoing debate. I'm an MJ guy. He's a LeBron guy. Congratulations to him and LeBron.
That's right.
Congrats.
But and he's a Philly guy, just so you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
but we just kind of get on. We center it around sports. We have a lot of artists on, like actual producers and writers and artists on, and that's kind of the premise, is that artists are talking about sports. But then we just have interesting people like yourself wearing dope ass shades while they drive.
Yeah. And it's a bar fight / shit show / a backstage hang.
I love it. This is all my wheelhouse. I'm telling you, this is my wheelhouse.
This is perfect for you. Listen, I want to start with this, Ryan. So obviously, I consider you kind of a Renaissance man. You're a man of many interests and talents. But I want to start from the beginning, and I know you have a huge love of sports. But let's start with football in Texas, because me and Joe don't have that experience of even growing up around the Texas football experience, and I know it's a show in and of itself and an experience in and of itself. But what was it like growing up around Texas football and playing high school football in Texas?
You know, it's interesting because I grew up, my father's from the Middle East. My mom's a Texas girl. She met my father in Texas. So growing up, I had a different, you don't know what you don't know. And then as you start to grow up, the world starts to materialize around you. So I grew up with different interests other than just sports. I grew up playing soccer first because my dad liked soccer, but my mother was an artist. My mom owns a beauty salon. My father was sort of kind of had a mathematical mind. So I wasn't fully into one thing. Whereas like if you grew up and both your parents were Texans, maybe you're watching Dallas Cowboys from the outset, and that's the path that you're on. So I got really heavily into skateboarding as a kid. And that was my first passion. I was like, skateboarding is the shit. I was listening to weird music. That was my thing. I noticed I still listen to weird music. And I had much more of an artistic mind, but I started realizing I wasn't getting any vaginas. And I was like, this is not working for me. Because eventually you get to a point where you're like, what it becomes is like,
that's a scientific name for pussy.
Yeah, it is.
Vagina. Yeah,
it's the political correct name.
That's exactly. You can't say pussy in 2020. You can't say anything anymore. It's a vagina.
My bad.
You can't say pussy unless you're the president. Then you can say pussy.
Yes, you can grab pussy. You can talk about pussy.
Yeah.
So I transitioning from my 8th grade to my 9th grade year, I remember thinking, oh man, all of my friends that play,
is this when you transitioned to when you became a woman? When you say transition, you became or when you became
also politically correct. Yes.
I'm not a woman. I'm a they. So call me a they.
Okay.
No, I just transitioned from my interest in skateboarding into more sports specific things like basketball and football. And my father hired me a trainer, 8th grade going into 9th grade. And I was like, oh, I'm going to give this football thing a chance. And I didn't really know anything, but I worked out with this trainer, 8th grade going into 9th grade, and I got into really good shape. And I was probably in better shape than all the kids on the football team. So I went and tried out for the football team. It was like a fucking Clearasil commercial. I walked in, and you know those commercials where like you'd walk in and the kid's skin cleared up and all the girls are like, Daryl? Like they can hardly recognize him.
Yeah.
It was like I walked into the fucking field house and all the kids were like, they looked at me like, what are you doing here? They were like, Ryan? I was like, what, bitches? I'm here to play.
Yeah.
So I went out there and I was like 4th on the depth chart. You know, I really didn't know what I was doing. I knew
What
that I was
position?
in good shape.
What position were you?
When I went out for the team my freshman year, I was essentially just a body. Hold on, I'm switching over to hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hold up.
You were just a person that was there
Yeah.
in case 3 guys got hurt at any one position.
The true definition of a
go
jag, just a guy.
If our third string
What?
kicker gets hurt, we've got the guy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So basically, I went out and I was just a body. I was in good shape. I was probably built more like, at the time, I was about 6 feet tall. My freshman year, I was about 170 pounds, right? I was 14 years old. I wasn't big. So I could have kind of gone anywhere, but I wasn't particularly fast. I was just in good shape. That's all I had going for me. I was in very good shape. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because I was 4th on the depth chart everywhere. No one had any specific reason to want me anywhere.
Mhm.
But the coaches started to notice that at the end of every practice, I still had energy. So their stars were exhausted. So as the season sort of went on, kids started to get hurt. So the coaches just started using me everywhere. So I went from being like 4th on the depth chart everywhere to like never leaving the field. It was
Wow.
It was like, Farhoudi, go in at nose tackle. Farhoudi, play linebacker. Can you play tight end in this place? So I started getting this sort of encyclopedic knowledge of all the different positions because by the end of the 3rd quarter, if you're in the best shape on the field, it doesn't matter where you are because you can fuck everyone up because they're running on 3 wheels. You know what I mean? And so then while I was doing that, I started to learn how to play the sport. I started to get pretty good at the sport as the years went by.
This sounds a lot like my strategy to picking up chicks. You just wait for everybody else to fall off.
You just outrun the bear. You don't you don't have to be faster.
You just outrun
the guy next to you. You don't need to outrun the bear. Yeah.
So that was essentially it. And then slowly so ultimately I ended up on the defensive line my freshman year as a primary position. I was very small, but I was quick. So if there was any gap, I was in. And then my sophomore year, when everybody starts to get a little bit better at the sport, I couldn't play defensive line because I didn't have the size. So they moved me to linebacker. And that's sort of where I excelled as the years went on. But then in terms of understanding what high school football meant, a fish doesn't know what's in the ocean. So you don't really know you know that you're walking around like a peacock because everyone talks about Texas high school football. When you're looking at colleges to go play, you understand the recruits all over the country are coming out of Florida, Texas, California.
Yeah.
And then it was my junior year that my linebacker coach came up to me and was like, right, you got a little competition. We got a kid coming into town. He's moving here from Minnesota. He's all state. He plays your position. And the coach is going on and on and on about this kid. I was like, Jesus Christ, they got this fucking Minnesota stallion coming in. Yeah. So I got to step my game up. And when I tell you that this dude was a little bitch, I was like, bro, if you're fucking all state Minnesota. And so I remember when I was like, in my mind, I was like getting ready for this competition. And one day I practiced, I was like, bitch, hold the water for me. Because it just, and that's when I understood that from state to state, it was a different ball game,
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that in other states there aren't great programs. ING Academy in Florida has the best of the best. It's essentially like college for high school. But in Texas, it's just in the water,
Yeah.
So I loved it. It was good. It was an integral part of my upbringing.
That's epic.
So again, clearly love of the arts, love of reading, self-education. We share in our love of beautiful women. Although
yes.
been so long, I don't know, maybe you're into dudes now or what, but you've been a
I
trainer.
like a mishmash.
You've been a trainer as long as I've known you, which is now, get this, bro, 20 years since we met.
I know.
Wow.
20.
I know.
Almost to the day, 20 years.
I know. You look old as hell.
I know I do. But tell me just in general, now obviously you were into some alternative sports, different sports, but had a great set of parents. I know that. What does sports mean to you as a kid, and what do you kind of still carry with it today just in life and life lessons?
It's actually really funny. I was just talking, hear my cat meowing. I'm a badass athlete. Hear my cat meowing. I was just talking about this the other day. Forgive me while I give my cat a little bit of kibble. Yeah. Get some of that. I was talking about this the other day. We were talking about I was talking about leaders in America, and I think we were having a political conversation, and I started thinking about what makes us who we are, in terms of how we behave in our job, how we behave around our peers, what kind of motivation we have, do we finish jobs? And you start to realize that outside of having a good nuclear family, having a good family unit, sports really provides that. You know what I mean? You have, if you're lucky enough to have good coaches, you learn how to become a man. You learn how to deal with loss. You learn how to self-soothe if you get hurt and you can't play the remainder of the season. It's almost like all these microcosms of the real world are show up and they get met, and there's metaphors everywhere if you look around. And so I think to this day, it's so woven into the fabric of who I am. It doesn't mean you can't be a leader if you weren't a sportsman or a sportswoman. But I think you really gather some great tools playing sports, Yeah,
it's funny. I tell people all the time and they laugh at me, but my biggest, when I'm thinking about if I'm slacking off, if I'm not getting done what I need to get done, I wake up every day and I still have bad dreams about this, about my lack of preparation and my losses and failures in high school basketball.
Really?
Yes. I still first of all, I have nightmares. I have nightmares that I show up to a game or they let me get a fifth year, a second senior year, just some dreams. They don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And I forgot my shoes at home, or I forgot and I didn't have a problem with that in school, but it's just, I think it was a lack of being prepared.
Yeah.
Not putting in the work to be prepared when the day comes, and I had I had a good high school basketball career, but I know that it could have been so much better. By the time I was playing Ryan, I had discovered some things that I wish I would have discovered a couple years earlier as I got on the varsity team. But it's incredible how you can still be driven by things that happened back in high school.
You pull that anxiety into into today. You're
exactly.
If I have anxiety dreams, let's say I'm going to start with a new client. Let's say the client's an actor, and it matters to me that I do a good job, because it always matters to me. But sometimes if you're
more famous than me even.
no one's more famous than you. But
True.
Anything that brings up you'll end up having a dream about training. I'm like, shit, I can't think of any other exercise than a lunge. I got nothing original to, you know what I mean? And so I can really relate to that feeling of kind of getting stuck, paralysis by analysis, fear. It's interesting.
Ryan, can you do me a favor as well? Because I feel like I get slightly sometimes only by some of Joe's guests that he has on, his friends that don't know me, and they see this kind of skinny, out of shape, older white man sitting in front of them. Can you explain that maybe I actually used to be pretty damn good at sports?
Oh, bro. Dude, JT was wet from three. Wet. He had a good handle.
Well, he always told me that he had a jumper.
Before wet was a thing, I was wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude. JT had real range. He was real cocky on the court. A lot of arrogance out there.
Okay, so nothing's changed.
Really?
No. Good. You were just full of confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah. Real good. And I'm trying to think about what if I could rewind and say what. I think there's this kid named Spencer. One of my clients' cousin plays at Harvard right now. he was and he's still at Harvard. He's playing point for Harvard right now, and the kid is so good. He's not very big. He's like 6 feet tall. You start to realize the thing that separates white boys like JT from being like just good high school players, even good college players, is to like, can they defend the best of the best in the NBA? Like I played, when I was in college, there was a boy
which
in my
I could
school,
not.
I played with this kid named Stan Bonowitz, and Stan was Jason Williams. He was J Will before J Will was J Will. He was hitting people in the face with these crazy dimes. I mean, he was like Pistol Pete. And at Texas Tech, he was a star. And then we played Georgetown my freshman year in college against Iverson. And Iverson just broke him down the whole game. And so when Stan went into the auxiliary draft or whatever for the NBA, he could shoot the lights out. I guarantee you Stan could shoot 42% from three.
Yeah.
He had every pass in the book. He just couldn't D it up at that level. So you realize that it in the pros, they do everything 99 out of 100. I mean, the worst. I mean, I used to go watch these fucking B team guys at Tech, and in shoot-arounds they would miss. You know, but that's the difference between shoot-arounds at Texas Tech and then Rajon Rondo hitting 3 out of 4 threes in the game 6 of the NBA Finals. So it just changes. There's something you got to have everything right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so JT was good.
So,
he could play.
Thank you for that, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So talk about where I think you still train out of the same. Are you still is it Easton? Gym
Yeah, Easton. Yeah, Easton. I mean, everything in COVID right now is weird. Easton is, Joe. So Easton is the oldest gym in Hollywood, and is built in 1938. And the guys that own the gym were friends of mine. And I'm sort of like a barber. I basically rent space. So but during COVID, like there's no gyms are open. So the owner basically lets me take my clients in. They pay like a premium to be in the gym, almost like this is what you're paying just to be in the space. And then they have to pay my ass. And then I still pay the gym a rental fee, but I upped it a little bit because I know they're on Struggle Street, But yeah, I've been out of Easton almost exclusively for about 17 years.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I remember, Joe, I used to be a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And when I was getting into it, Ryan, I met up with Ryan a couple times, and he, walked me through kind of what he does and stuff. That's how long it's been.
Oh, wow.
You are the complete opposite of a name dropper. But can you throw out some of your homies that you've trained over the years, some names we'd know?
Oh, yeah. I've trained a lot of fools in this town. I trained James Franco for a long time. I trained Ellen DeGeneres for a long time. These are people that have come and gone off the roster. Yeah. Right now, my buddy, I train a cat named Dev Patel, who's kind of a famous dude. Army Hammer, kind of a famous dude. Dakota Johnson. Yeah. Just a lot. The thing about Hollywood is, these actors, work begets work, right? So if I'm training Kate Mara for a job and she's working with I don't know who a goddamn kid is, Timothy Chalamet, and she's like, hey, Timothy needs a trainer, it comes to me, right? So the job is just to keep doing a good job, be consistent, don't annoy people, and then eventually they become your friends and you're with them for life. But like take Franco, for example. James and I trained for quite a while, then he started dating a new girl, and I really like Isabel, but Isabel loves to do classes and stuff. So James, being a good boyfriend,
like pottery class.
She loves the pottery class. She would start dragging James into like Barry's boot camp or Soul Cycle or whatever. Yeah. And I'm very easy come, easy go. When people need to train, come train. When you want to go be with your girl and do Bikram, go do it. I don't get precious or like territorial about things.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been at it for a long time. I've been a trainer since I was in college. I think I've been training for 23 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time in the game.
Yeah, I got my 10,000 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's transition into some current sports. How much are you keeping up on sports right now, Dode?
I'm keeping up. What are we going to talk about? Football right now?
Well, I'm gonna throw in a little sprinkle in honor of my co-host.
Well, yeah, we're definitely not gonna bury the lead because something happened this weekend.
His greatest of all time, and I'm sure he's gonna just
the
shut
greatest
up about it for like 20 minutes. But
because you're a LeBron guy.
Oh yeah.
LeBron guy, yeah.
You're LeBron, and so you're hyped that LeBron won a championship, and he won one in Cleveland, and he won one in Miami. Is that
It's-
what you're going to say?
Well, he is the what you're alluding to is the other historic fact that he is the first and the only to win an MVP, a Finals MVP, and a championship in 3 different locations.
That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's say, all right, we're going to, I got some strong feelings on LeBron.
Yeah.
So we're going to, let's establish the fact here that LeBron has also lost places, right? He has.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt that fool is playing with Anthony Davis. That is not hurting anybody. It didn't hurt that he played with Kyrie. It didn't hurt that he played with Dwayne Wade.
At all.
So and it also doesn't hurt that I remember watching LeBron play in the McDonald's All-American game.
Yeah.
When he was in high school. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking, this motherfucker is a man. I was like, that is not an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
That is a 36-year-old man knocking children around.
Yeah.
And so the reason I have a hard time saying that LeBron is better than, I mean, it's such a hard conversation to say Kobe, MJ, LeBron, whatever. I respect LeBron. I think LeBron's a great player. I don't think if you put LeBron in Kobe's body, he is the same player that LeBron would be if you took Kobe's spirit and put it in LeBron's body. I think that
Interesting.
I think that they're all highly competitive. I just think LeBron's game so much at the beginning of his career was like head down, shoulder down, to the rack, dunk. I mean, you couldn't stop it. And then over the years, this is a tough conversation. I mean, we're talking 1, 2, and 3 greatest of all time. I mean, literally, like you could shuffle these things around however. I mean,
that's interesting though, because that's a big part of a lot of people's argument is the up here. You know what I mean?
So
and
the only thing with that is LeBron is considered, even by big, huge Jordan stands, considered to be one of the highest basketball IQ players. I mean, I've heard one of the biggest. Who was it? Skip. We all know Skip Bayless is the biggest LeBron hater in the world. He calls LeBron the smartest basketball player. So for your analogy of putting him in another body, I think because he is one of the smartest, highest IQ basketball players in that Mount Rushmore, you could put him in Muggsy Bogues' body and he'd still be one of the great because of his mentality. And people also knock him because of his mentality, because they don't like that he makes the right play and blah, 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 blah.
That's the thing though, because they're separate. What you're talking about IQ, I don't think is what mentality and IQ are 2 different things, is what I'm saying.
Right.
No, they're not.
And I think yeah, they are. IQ is your literal basketball intelligence, whereas mentality is part of a level of greatness that you can bring yourself to.
His mentality is dictated by his basketball IQ, which most people's are. Which most people's are, right? So you do what you know to do. Yeah.
I would say this. I'm a Houston Rockets fan. And I know.
So how do you explain that situation?
The point I was going to make is it's been very nice to be a Rockets fan because it's very fun to watch James Harden play. He's exciting. James is one of those guys that if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not, you hate him. But talking about a basketball IQ, James is one of those dudes who it's like he knows how to draw a foul. You might not like that he's at the fucking stripe 20 times a game, but it's
my God. He knows it's brutal.
He knows that if you have your hand over the ball, he's going to just rake his arm up through your arm. Foul. Yeah. And he's like, that's why whenever the Spurs would play, Pop would be like, don't put your hands out. Stay in front of him. Literally, you would see guys defending James out at the 3, and their arms are just up or out. They're never reaching for the ball. Ever.
Yeah.
And that's because Pop's a genius. But like James doesn't have what Kobe, LeBron, Michael all had, which is he doesn't have that. It's not his personality. He's got an IQ. He doesn't have the mentality. So I agree with what you said. I think the mentality sort of leads to the IQ. But with guys like James and Russell's a fucking moron. But James has a basketball IQ. He just doesn't have the mentality. He doesn't have that killer.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Doesn't have it. And it breaks my heart.
He's got all the talent in the world. Talent-wise, he could be, when people say it touches people's ears the wrong way because of the mentality part, to your point. But when people say James Harden might be the best offensive player that we've ever seen in the NBA, like it's kind of accurate, right? It hits your ear wrong as a basketball fan because you're like that name and it doesn't sound right.
Right.
But basketball wise, if you're just talking pure basketball, you're like, he's offensively, he's unstoppable. You know what I mean?
Him and Steph at their prime were just like, I don't even know how you guard them. I mean, there's a lot of great players, but James is just, I mean, he's a superstar. He's never going to even be in the argument of the best top 20 of all time, all around players, because he doesn't have we should have the year that we took Golden State to 7 when Chris Paul got hurt.
That was the year.
That was the year. And with Chris Paul, also a great IQ. I actually, people think Chris is a bitch, but that he's a winner.
Yeah.
He knows how to win. He's like John Stockton. He's dirty, but he knows how to get in your head and all that shit. I feel like that was the season. And I think if he doesn't pull up with that hamstring injury, he was the secret sauce. He was the secret sauce, but it ain't Russell. And now I don't know what we do. We don't have a goddamn coach now.
I know.
You got James and Russell, and we got no money. We got no picks. It's a mess.
And James benefited from the basketball IQ that Chris Paul brought to the table.
Right.
He needed, and that's what I was saying, because I think if you put Chris Paul's IQ and James Harden's body, James Harden might be he might be considered top 5. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think James benefited from that, and he needed it. But it's also part of the reason why, it's a big thing, the IQ mentality part, because it's also the reason why I don't believe with all the talent that they have coming next year, I don't believe in the Brooklyn Nets, because neither one of those guys have that mentality to me, and they're saying that they don't need a coach. So now they're already checking out of the fact that they have a coach there, and them listening to him, the chances is getting smaller and smaller by every word that Kyrie Irving speaks out his mouth.
Yeah.
Really quickly, where'd Billy Donovan go?
Billy Donovan went
I don't know where to look at. I don't remember where he went.
That's a good question. He went to.
So who's going to be coaching the Nets now? Who's Brooklyn's coach next year?
Steve Nash.
Oh, Steve. Oh, that's right. Steve.
Billy Donovan went to the. Did he go to the Bulls? Wait.
Yes, he went to the Bulls.
Okay, so Steve Nash, and so what they're gonna have? They're gonna have KD. They're gonna have Kyrie. They're gonna have
Who knows who they're gonna keep? Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert. They got a lot of talent.
They got a nice team,
but they're just their leaders are not here mentally. That's the thing.
It's either going to go really well, or it's going to go really, really bad. It's not going to be like, they're going to have a nice season, they're going to finish, and everything's going to be great, and we're going to get ready for the next year. It's not going to be like that.
Here's the rub. One of the people that the Rockets were talking about being our head coach is Tyronn Lue. Now, let me tell you why. Lue, it's so funny that I hate that he's even in the conversation. The thing about Lue, the only thing that we remember about Tyronn Lue is that Allen Iverson stepped over.
Allen Iverson.
No one respected him. No, he wasn't a great player. I think Steve Nash sort of commands respect from the Kyries and the KDs. Maybe he's an old head a little bit, but I think they're like, this was a superstar. He's a short white boy, and let's listen to him. Same with Steve Nash. Steve Nash was, regardless of whether or not you think Steve Nash was a superstar, he was a pure shooter, and he was integral when he was at the Bulls, and he was integral when he was at the Spurs. I mean, he just was he was a value add. And I think these guys are going to look at Nash, and they're going to go, someone is going to be a leader, and go, let's listen to coach. Now, if it's
somebody's got to do it, though. I don't know that it's going to be Kyrie or KD, because they both are they are both the guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in every room.
Do you think that they will be smart enough to realize that they have to listen if they want to win? I mean, because eventually, you don't think so. Eventually, you got to go. I'm so competitive. If we're losing, I'm like, I don't care what we got to do. We got to do a seance. We got to, learn a new language. But what do we got to do? So at some point, if someone goes, we got to listen to coach.
It's interesting because I think KD is so that, and we forget that when he's assuming he's going to come back fully healthy, he's probably the second best player in the league and the best pure scorer in the league at basically 7 feet tall, can handle. I mean, he's incredible. And I think he's almost, and I'm not saying these guys aren't smart. I just hate it. And we talk about this all the time, Joe. When be smart, but don't be smart that you think you're smarter than everybody that ever enters the room. And that's annoying. And it's also can lead to a messed up locker room because you end up not caring what anybody says. You and Kyrie just isolate yourselves on your flat earth corner of the locker room. Not caring what anybody else says. But
I have a question about this.
Yeah.
I have a question about this. Do you guys remember when LeBron was playing in Miami? You remember his relationship with Coach?
Yeah.
Did it seem respectful?
It did to me. I thought he respected Coach Spell. I think he tried to get him out at one point because I think he tried to get him out because, again, I think LeBron feels about coaches the same way he feels about role players, like don't bring the young ones in here. And so he's there and he's like, my winning clock is ticking and I only want to – that's why he shipped all the NCAA All-Stars out for Anthony Davis because he wants guys who knows how to play. That's why playoff Rondo became a thing and became so clutch because without playoff Rondo, they probably don't win this championship because their biggest issue was when LeBron James comes off the floor, they look like chickens with their heads cut off running around on an NBA floor, right? And so LeBron had the foresight to go, we need a veteran with a sound mind, back on the theme of today, a high basketball IQ, and somebody who can run the show when I'm not there. And I think that he feels the same way about his coaches, where Eric Spoelstra was super green. And he's like,
but has proven to be a good coach over the years.
Oh, yeah,
like
I think he's
a
great coach.
Yeah,
but I do think he. As a matter of fact, there have been, now that I think about it, and I haven't thought about this for a while, he's disrespected a lot of coaches, but it's LeBron James.
Disrespected.
He's disrespected many coaches, including
who did he disrespect?
David Blatt. He disrespected him.
David Blatt was trash. David Blatt needed to go.
But he disrespected him. He's still his coach.
How did he disrespect him?
There was all
he called him a punk ass bitch
out.
and punched him in the.
No, that was Jordan.
He used to punk him in the locker room all the time.
He used to do what?
Yeah. He used to punk him. There's all sorts of stories that he used to punk him in the locker room.
Where did we see this play out? I've never seen anything like this.
Come on.
I don't. I'm dead serious.
One specific one was David Blatt brought up a story when they were struggling in some series, and he brought up a story because he coached overseas. That was where he had all his success. And LeBron was literally like, dude, we're not listening to this about you coaching overseas. We're in the NBA. Which is fine.
Right.
Like, I get it. And I'm not even saying it's bad to do. Maybe there's better ways to do it, but LeBron used to disrespect
the only story that I've ever heard published is the story about how he drew up a play at the end of the game for Kyrie and LeBron said, no, we're not doing that. That's it. I don't know where this other stuff is coming. And that's something that all the greats would have done. Like, fuck that. I'm taking, it's just Kobe routinely told Phil Jackson, I'm not coming out the game. That's not disrespect. That's just them being the leader.
It is disrespect, but it's because you're so great, and that's just what you're doing. I mean, you don't think MJ disrespected Phil Jackson? I guarantee you he did plenty of times.
I just don't call that disrespect. It's a players' league, so I just think the players run the show at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So
if that's the case, Joe. But if that's the case,
that's different from Kyrie coming out and saying we won't listen to our coach publicly. Like I don't want to coach here.
All right, but let me ask you
that's disrespect to me. Like that's different from in-game.
But the question is, I understand how the optics of that look different, but is it actually different just because he said it? Because in one breath you said it's a players' league, and in the next breath you said it's not cool for Kyrie to say it. But if it's a players' league, then all that fool did was just say it out loud.
Yeah, I'm talking when players' league as far as. Them having everybody knows that they have the say. Everybody knows that they have the say behind the scenes, right? Right. But it's different when you come out to the media or you come out publicly on a public forum and say, you know what, forget this about even a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's like where you should draw the line and be like, okay, like maybe this is not on a podcast of Kevin Durant's stature. Should I say I don't need a coach? We can do this ourselves. We really don't need him to be here.
I was talking more disrespect, like to in the front of the team and to someone's face. I don't really. I mean, outside that's just pussy stuff. But I'm talking more like in a huddle in the locker room, because that's where it matters, right? That's where it's you and him and everybody else. But again, I think there's moments where if you feel strongly about something, that's just what you got to do. I look back at moments from my high school and I wish I would, because, we were taught, especially back then, and we weren't being paid to play the game. That's your coach. He says
respect your elders.
You do it. That's just how it is.
Right.
And I think there were ways to do it that now, knowing my coach as a friend after I graduated, I know he would have respected if I would have said, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You tell him to sit his ass down. I'm staying in the fucking game. There's 3, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Now that I know, he would have respected it. So they're all adults. These guys are getting paid more money than their coach to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but that's the other thing. That's the other
line.
thing too. It's like the other thing is everything in context, right? Like if you are, if you're at a company and you've been there 20 years and you're decorated and you have all of these accolades, and then they hire this guy off the street who was just an intern to be your manager, to be your boss, you're gonna have a hard time listening to him, right? So the thing about that is, LeBron has rarely ever had a coach that really deserved his respect. If we're being honest about it, right? Eric Spoelstra was a rookie coach. David Blatt had never even coached in the NBA before. Like he had only coached overseas. That's why he has this high admiration and this love fest with all of these GOAT coaches like Coach K and Coach Pop, because he's never had that. He's never had a Phil Jackson, somebody who comes in with rings, or somebody who was lauded as this great coach. He's always taken these, even just now, Coach Vogel. Like what has Coach Vogel won in anything, in any level of life?
Was Coach Vogel the Pacers coach for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't,
and LeBron dismantled those Pacers teams, so he really doesn't even have the respect of like a battle tested situation.
That's
you know
true,
what I mean?
but Vogel, like for example, I don't know shit about the fucking Pacers, and I know Vogel's name because I remember thinking he's making some decent chicken salad out of chicken shit. You know what I mean? Like it's always
they had talent though. They had talent, and to their credit, they ran up against arguably the greatest player of all time. So I'm not shitting on those teams, but I'm saying that when you are at that level and your coach, I mean, imagine the Michael Jordan went to blows over many of things with Phil Jackson. Imagine Tyronn Lue being his coach, or Frank Vogel, somebody who literally, it's just like,
Right.
Yeah,
I think
especially
that's also,
after he'd accomplished too. Like if he won 4 rings and Phil Jackson retires, and he's got to bring in, you name the young coach.
Yeah,
it's not going to be pretty.
But it's also, I think, slightly more nuanced than that, because if you think about Michael's blow-ups with Coach Jackson had an interesting way of coaching. Like you guys watched the Michael docu-series they did recently.
Mm-hmm.
And, if Dennis showed up and was like, I need 5 days off, Coach Jackson would give him the 5 days off. So maybe if you start to see Michael and Phil bickering, maybe the talk is, why the fuck are you letting Dennis go be an asshole? Right. And so now it looks like he's fighting with his coach, but really now we're having a philosophical conversation about the way you're running your bureaucracy poorly. It's not necessarily about I don't respect. Go ahead.
But in all honesty, to me, it seemed like the flip side. It seemed like their head-to-head wasn't philosophical, because when Dennis Rodman wanted to go to Vegas, Michael was like, all right, like if you're gonna do it, right? But when they did have a head-to-head, it was when Phil Jackson said, Michael, you need to pass the ball. Like we can't do this by them. Now they're at blows, because he's like, Phil's trying to take the ball out of my hands, and Phil's like, I'm trying to win. So this is a basketball thing that happened with them too. You know what I mean? So
right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. These are difficult.
To say. I mean, hearing the backstory, I don't think Michael got into if he agreed with Rodman going to Vegas or not, but I think he was just like, he
acquiesced to Phil and Phil's ways philosophically.
Rodman needs a break. He's going to Vegas, and Michael was like, okay, like
that's what I mean.
That was what he said.
That's what I mean. But that's what I mean. Like
moment,
he went along with Phil's kind of wacky decisions.
I'm just saying, in the actual moment, I don't know that he was like, oh, okay, because we're seeing him however many years later go, oh, okay. But the point is, the point is, like, obviously he clashed with Phil on some philosophical things. Phil was introducing things that had never been introduced to the league before.
Yeah.
The triangle offense was based on a Native American. Some league he played at some Native American thing he was coaching with, and Tex Witter had this philosophy. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Can I throw in an interesting thing here about MJ and LeBron? So get this. 35 years old. They both have phenomenal seasons. Everyone's wondering if they can get it done at this age, at this stage in their career. You've got both of them get snubbed for most valuable player. Karl Malone wins it in MJ's 35th year on this earth, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Giannis won it this year, and they go on, they get it done, and they win these historic championships. Pretty crazy, right? 35 years old.
That's nuts.
35 years old. Now, of course, this isn't.
And the year that Kobe died, that made this even more special for me as a LeBron fan. Like, you know, that to me was like added pressure. Like, okay, we got this whole thing happening.
Lose the year Kobe
and everybody's like, this is for Kobe. You're wearing the Mamba jersey. They created the Mamba jerseys this year. And so now you got, you know, all of this pressure on you to come through, not only with the stuff that's happening in the bubble and everything like that, but just everything off the court emotionally, the whole thing with Kobe and Black Lives Matter and all of this stuff that was going on. Like, it was impressive for them to stay locked in, because I think some of that, talking about, I guess it's the theme of the day, mentality, the mentality killed a lot of players in the bubble, right? I think the mentality got a hold of Lemon Pepper Lou, and somehow the Space Jam monsters came down and zapped all his powers away. The mentality got a hold of that Clippers team that went out way too early. I think the mentality got a hold of a lot of people in the bubble.
Got a hold of Daniel House.
Got a hold of Daniel House, who was helping his team win. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's a lot to be said about this bubble championship and all of the other aspects that came along with this being a tough run, because in this weird year that we are in with COVID and everything like that.
And it's a great story, and it's going to be historical, obviously, but what a bummer that they can't win it the year that Kobe passes away with a crowd.
In front of a crowd.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously LA went crazy in the streets.
Oh, yeah, because that would have been such a moment. I mean,
think about it. They have to win it in an empty gym in Orlando.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just so weird.
That would have been a moment. Like, that would have been such a moment.
Can you imagine them winning that in LA?
And they were already hanging off of traffic lights and tree branches downtown.
Yeah, I saw a guy fall from a light pole. I thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
Did he get hurt?
I don't
probably
know if they caught
so.
him, or I don't know what was going on.
Probably so. I would have been there to catch him personally if had I not been on a flight coming here when it happened, because I was hurt that I couldn't be in the streets.
Did you say you were in Austin, Joe?
No, I was in Maryland for a wedding.
Okay, that's close to Austin.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
And the Austin of the East.
Joe, Ryan, are you who's your football team? Are you a Cowboys fan?
Titans.
You're a Titans.
Tighten up. So you got a game tonight. When this comes out, we'll see we'll know who wins that game.
I'm a Houston Oilers fan, so I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. I grew up.
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Yeah, I stuck with them when they left. I just have been, because you follow your squad, not the name of your squad. So when they left, I didn't have a Houston team, and I wasn't living in Houston anymore. I was living in the Hill Country. I moved from Houston. So my allegiance was to my squad, and the squad slowly evolves, right? So when McNair and the boys moved to Tennessee, that was my team. I didn't give a shit they were called the Tennessee Titans. I was just following my team,
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Warren Moon is the only Oiler I can think of the name of right now.
Absolutely untrue. You know who Earl Campbell is. Come on, son.
Yeah.
I know the name. I know who he is.
Earl Campbell is one of the greatest running backs of all time. Warren Moon, you wouldn't the Oilers have never won a championship. We came very close with Steve McNair and Eddie George, about a yard away.
I watched that game.
There you go. So that was actually a year before you and I became buddies, because I was in college. I think that was 2000.
I was going to say that had to be right around that time, because I would
99 or 2000.
I watched that game on that TV in the house right there, Gray Court, that you lived at with me. The Rona.
Yeah.
The Titans leading the division right now.
We haven't played anybody.
They haven't. They're barely getting by, right? interesting fact about Warren Moon is is the only Hall of Fame inductee into the NFL and the Canadian Football League.
Oh, interesting. And also beat his wife's ass.
Right.
So,
Oh,
that's chill.
no.
Did he really?
Oh, no.
We can edit that out. We can edit that out. It's okay.
No, let's leave it.
So the thing about the Titans this year, interestingly enough, is we're 3-0. I actually think we're a very good team. We have a couple of issues. We got this fucking beast on the defensive line. This kid Benjamin Simmons, who is so nasty, dude. He reminds me of Ndamukong Suh in his nastiness. Like I've seen him do shit where I'm like, that doesn't make sense that you just tackled a dude through a dude.
Yeah.
I think that Derek is starting a little bit slow, but that's fine. Everyone's stacking the box against him. I like Ryan Tannehill. I like our receivers. Corey Davis has been playing well considering A.J. Brown's been sitting down.
Yeah.
I love our tight end, Jonnu Smith. I think he's a great player. I think our defense is good. They're playing below their potential, in my opinion. I think that we have a relatively we don't have a lot of speed. In some of the packages we run, one of our safeties isn't very fast, and he can get smoked like on some pretty basic post patterns. I'm like, bitch, come on, son. And so I think that right now Vrabel just has to figure out, because sometimes by the end of the season a rookie's starting because he's faster and he's more athletic, and you have to start giving him responsibility. But I think the Titans end 11-5 on the season and have a pretty decent playoff run. That's my prediction. Because I think the boys are good. I do think the boys are good.
So you were not devastated then by the fact that Dak Prescott had a season-ending injury on Sunday?
I was actually bummed out because I think Dak is, for all intents and purposes, I think he's a competitor, and I think players respect him. I think he's a good guy. And I think sports need those kinds of people. I think those kinds of people need to stay healthy. I mean, you don't need the Donald Trump of sports all over the place. You need some good people. So LeBron's a great ambassador for basketball. LeBron's a classy dude. You know what I mean? And so you need those kinds of people. We've all seen the clip of Dak throwing his Gatorade cup. He misses it. He gets his ass up. He picks it up and he throws it away.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that before?
No, I didn't. See
it's. Yeah, he's sitting on the bench. He drinks a Gatorade. He throws it at the garbage. It hits the lip, falls off. He sits there for a second, then he gets up and he picks it up and throws it away. Yeah, and that says a lot.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
Someone's gonna pick that up and throw it away. But he's like, I should do this. It's my responsibility, and I like that.
I'll be honest. I almost, and this was the dad in me because I immediately pictured my son in the situation, but I almost started crying when he was crying being wheeled off the field. You just feel for him so much. And not only that, and we've talked about Dak plenty. Joe's an Eagles fan, Ryan.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of Cowboy talk. And
I'm a McNabb fan.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.
I said I'm a McNabb fan. Donovan was a fucking nasty, nasty man.
Yeah.
Go on.
But we talked about Dak a bunch. And I always thought he was kind of like a cusp top 10 guy.
Yeah. That's fair.
This season, and part of it's because I think we don't oftentimes give quarterbacks enough time. A lot of these kids come in at 22 years old, and by 27, we've decided that they're no good and not able to be a starter. So I think he did need a little more time, but I completely changed my mind. Obviously, he's got weapons around him. It makes it a lot easier. But I really do think he's a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's Pat Mahomes, but I think he's a Super Bowl capable winning quarterback. And I think if he had any sort of defense this year and he didn't have to be putting up 50 fantasy points every week to help his team even have a chance, that they'd be in great shape. And I feel really bad that they didn't pay him, but I went from kind of thinking, you know what, they must be seeing something that we don't. Maybe they shouldn't be paying him. He turned down money that would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the league. Now I'm thinking he comes back, you make sure he's good, and you pay the man. If not before.
Well, do you think that that's the other question is, like, people are saying it's possible that Dak played his last game, right, for the Cowboys.
No.
So do you think they do you think that's his last game for the Cowboys?
I don't think so, because it's not an Achilles. The bone break, actually, they say is really not that serious. It's just a bone break. It's better than like an MCL, ACL, Achilles type thing. So no, I think he comes back. I mean, It's a matter of, do they want to see him come back and perform?
Well, do they sign him? Like, do they give him a contract, or do you think they're is because if he's
no matter
if
what,
he's
he's going to get paid.
If he's franchised again, well, yeah, he'll definitely get paid. If he's franchised again, you also, there's a possibility of he got hurt on a franchise tag, right? Mm-hmm. So now there's a different reality behind that mentality of like, fuck this, I'm gonna hold out. I'm not coming in under a franchise tag because I already saw how that could happen. And if it happens again, he's really fucked. So do they franchise him, or is it possible that that's his last game as a Cowboy, or do you see him giving them giving him a contract and actually like giving him, because now the price has gone up.
Yeah. Right. I'll say this. If it were me, obviously it's not. I do not own an NFL football team, and I didn't
realize that.
You don't. Why am I on this podcast? Why am I on this podcast?
Although I do own an on the rise fantasy football team, so you can mark that in your notes. But
I'm 4-0, but I'm not trying to brag.
But are you in fantasy? Why are you not in our league, right?
Yeah, we gotta get you in our league next.
If y'all want to lose, y'all desperate to lose.
Next season, you're in our league. By the way, true goats, I got you next week.
Well, count that as a loss, because I'm going on 4-1. I'm going on 4-1, so just mark it down now.
I love you, brother, but I need it.
I'm going to deliver that L. I'm going to deliver it.
I would give him the contract. I would.
Yeah.
But, who knows what they're thinking. But I think if you get franchised again, if they're like, all right, we're going to keep him, we're going to franchise him again. If I'm Dak, I'm out. I'm okay.
You can't.
I'm out. I'm not coming back under a franchise tag, and I just broke my ankle under a franchise tag.
You know who would love me to go over there is like someone like the San Francisco 49ers. You know who would love me to come over?
You think
the Falcons? The Falcons. I mean, name a team. Take out the 6 top teams in the league with the 6 best quarterbacks. Dude,
how about this? How about
the Jets, Miami, the Falcons.
How about this? The Saints. Drew Brees is about to be done. How about the Saints?
The Bengals. We could go on.
It's tough.
Washington.
I'm saying teams that are set up right now that if you put him in there, they're rolling. You know what I mean?
Anybody, he's gonna get paid regardless of where he goes. If he goes, he's gonna get big.
I'm just
big
saying,
paid.
like, if he wants to go, like, I'm going to shove it.
If he wants to go win,
How about this? How about the Eagles? How about the Philadelphia Eagles? They would take him right now over Carson Wentz.
Yeah, because Carson has been doing some weird stuff out there. I'm sorry.
I'm a believer in Dak Prescott.
I like
know.
Dak a lot. I like Dak. You're not even on the depth chart. They don't have who's the cat on the depth chart?
It's one of the older like retreads.
He's an old.
Yeah, he's like let me see.
I'm curious.
Is it Joe Namath or?
Well, there's Jalen Hurts, but then after Jalen Hurts, it's one of the old retreads. Jalen Hurts.
You know what? Let Jalen go throw the ball. I mean, no one thought.
I'm down to put Jalen in.
No one thought Lamar was going to be a stud. Let Jalen try. Jalen played really well at Oklahoma.
Yeah,
he played really well at Oklahoma.
At this point, we have nothing to lose.
He played really well in Alabama.
He did, but he didn't play. He played a different kind of game in Oklahoma than he did at Bama, because at Bama, it was different when Tua started to play, because when Jalen was in there, they ran a different style offense. He was running the rock. He wasn't throwing that often. He was sort of like a field manager. Whereas when Tua got in there, they were just slinging.
You're making me want a beer. I have IPAs in the fridge.
Do
Ryan, are you on number 3 already?
That's number 2.
Are you?
I still got to work too. I still got a 4:15 client, but I'm living the dream right now.
Oh, that's boss.
Yeah.
But your male prostitution business is a totally different. It's a side hustle.
Yeah.
It's a side hustle, but it's flourishing. It's flourishing.
You don't need to be sober for that, so that makes sense.
When you were at Texas Tech, Ryan, did you was Coach Knight there coaching the team?
Coach Bobby Knight was not there. When I was there, right when I left Texas Tech, Bobby Knight came in shortly after, and Coach Leach came in and started coaching the football team. So you guys know, obviously, Pat Mahomes was a Red Raider. Go Texas Tech. But Texas Tech always has amazing offenses, high flying. Michael Crabtree went to Texas Tech. Graham Harrell, who played it for the Green Bay Packers, went to Texas Tech. Coach Leach was a great mind. Not even a football player. He was an attorney, but just had a great mind.
Never played.
Oh wow.
No, never played. Yeah, which was kind of didn't play. Yeah, but just an interesting guy. I love the way that he looked at the game. But Texas Tech started getting in some new, more interesting coaches when I bounced. And obviously, I love our basketball right now. I think it's been so nice to watch our basketball team completely turn around. It's been
that program is growing.
Program is going. And when I was actually at Texas Tech, we had a good squad. We had a kid named Jason Sasser. We had a kid named Darvin Ham. You remember Darvin Ham that played for the Nuggets? You remember that dude?
Yeah.
Darvin was a beast. We had, and my boy Stan, who I was saying was like, Jay, well, we had we made it to the Sweet 16. But these cats that we have now, I mean, we're just Texas Tech's a basketball school now, which is nice. I mean, it's
they
nice.
really are.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. It's
They're
so
like
good to
a
have good
legit
sports.
top 10 type program.
Yeah, because they're well coached. They're very, very well coached. You know what I mean? We don't get the best athletes. We just well coached.
Right. Let's go. Let's stick on football and a thing that's a little close to home for me. And I was actually on the phone with my ex today, who both of you know.
What's his name again? What's his name? Oh, Nicole.
Robbie?
Jaron. His name was Jaron.
Jaron.
I figured it was Anthony.
So
I like Anthony.
Dan Quinn is out as the head coach for the Falcons. Raheem Morris is being given the head coach job. And
which I don't know what took them so long.
Yeah, well, Jeff Ulbrich, who went there with Dan for that gig, I believe he was the linebackers coach, but recently, which I didn't even know, was given the position as defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
and so there was actually talk for a minute. He thought he might actually get the head coaching job, but I think he's going to stick on as defensive coordinator for Raheem. And I guess unless he turns it around, they're going to be looking for somebody else. But who's out there right now that we know about that could be slipping into that position?
Is a head football coach?
Yeah, head coach.
It's always hard because I think the best head coaches, like if you look at John Gruden for the longest time, John Gruden didn't want to go coach. He enjoyed being an analyst, and I think sometimes
John Gruden, look at the job he's doing with the Raiders.
I like to say right now,
I
made a $50 bet this weekend. I made $760.
Did you bet on the Raiders?
I parlayed the Raiders, the Dolphins. Wow. I took the Raiders plus 11.
How dare you bet against my 49ers?
Wow.
I took the Raiders. I took the Raiders plus 11. I took Miami money line, and I took Pittsburgh minus 7. 50 bones, 760.
Wow.
I should have taken the fucking Raiders money line. That would have paid me. And I only put 50 bones. I wish I would have put. The thing about betting is when it's all done, you should have done. You know what I mean? I should have put 150. Yeah. I should have taken money line. You know.
Right.
But
every time.
But the Raiders are playing. I mean, dude, I really like that, man. I think John Gruden's a good coach. I like the team. I think David Carr.
And the Raiders got talent, man. They got some talent over there.
Dude,
man,
they're fucking tight end.
Was it Josh Jackson?
That's my guy, Darren Waller. That's my guy. I got him in every league that I'm in.
Jacobs is the tailback.
Yeah.
Jacobs is the tailback. Waller, I couldn't get to him. You know who I got though was Mark Andrews, and that kid's a goddamn beast too.
Yeah, that's a clutch pickup.
They got. Is it Ruggs that plays for them too? That's nice.
The wide receiver. Yeah. Rookie. Rookie.
That kid is Renfro.
Hunter Renfro's a G. Did Hunter even get? He's like a small like Clemson white boy, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if he was drafted or if he was.
I don't think he was.
I don't think he was either.
He's just a little scatty. I mean, that's one thing that Texas Tech has a lot of. Obviously, Danny Amendola, Red Raider, Wes Welker, Red Raider. We had a lot of like really scatty little white boys, you know.
Yeah.
And
scatty little white boys.
I support all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone start telling JT a scatty little white boy.
Scatty little white boy. That's what I.
Scatty little white boy.
But I don't know what coaches are out there that are unemployed because you know those retreads aren't always good. There's a reason.
I don't think the retread route is great, and I also don't think the rookie hot college guy is great either. Like I think, you know, there's some guys that have been sitting in the wing that haven't gotten chances. That deserve shots. I feel like most likely it'll probably be a big name retread or something like that because they haven't made great decisions there.
Well, you're right. Like look at LaFleur at Green Bay. He was our offensive coordinator at the Titans. He was doing a hell of a job. we had his ass like at the helm for one season, and Green Bay was like, gotta get him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a very good call. Maybe there is an offensive coordinator. I don't know who's the coordinator for Kansas City, because that fool's going to start getting looks. You know what I mean? Great. Or does Andy Reid call the plays?
Andy Reid calls the plays.
They've got a good coordinator. No, I think the coordinator handles a lot. He's nice. Yeah.
But Andy is typically calling the plays.
There's already talk that he's gonna. You know what? That's probably the play. That's probably it. I'll bet you right now that guy gets the gig.
Yeah, I mean, because
unless Raheem Morris completely turns this thing around this season, I'll bet you they go after that guy and get him. Because Atlanta, that's a nice little job. They got
talent. There's no reason for them to be losing like this.
Who's the best defensive team in the league? Is it Buffalo?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, my Indianapolis Colts fantasy
right now it's the Colts. I think
for me.
Numbers wise, I think it's the Colts.
Colts are really surprised, and I'm actually happy. You know, obviously I'm an AFC South guy, but I like when my division is good. Like I like that Gardner Minshew's playing good football. I like you don't want to be the best squad in the shittiest division. Like that's a bad feeling. You want to be the best in a good. So I'm actually quite happy that Indianapolis is playing well. I just love too. I do too, and I like good defense. Like that's why I brought up when Vrabel came in to coach the Titans. I was hyped just because I think I'm a firm believer that defense wins championships. I think back when Ray Lewis was at Baltimore and they were just wrecking fools, I think if you have a nasty defense, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, fellas. Trent Dilfer's broke ass won a Super Bowl. You know why?
1974, man. It's just what a year. What a year.
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer won in like 2003 or 4.
I know.
He's such a whack ass quarterback, but his defense was so aggro. Well, that wasn't against Philly, was it?
No. But that Ravens defense carried quarterbacks. You know, all of those great.
Joe Flacco too.
Yeah.
I mean, our offense was good last year, but our defense brought the Niners to that Super Bowl. I mean, they were stout.
Yeah, well, especially towards the end of the year in the playoffs, like that was
and
all
the only
defense.
reason I'm a believer, and I'm not a fan, of course, but I'm a believer in the Seahawks now because I wasn't taking them seriously, is because this last game their defense is showing up now.
Yeah,
and we already know, dude. That offense, Russell Wilson is playing out of his mind, and DK Metcalf is the LeBron James of wide receivers.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. And he's huge.
You want to know what's funny? Do you guys remember the scouting report on DK after the combine? What they were saying about him?
They thought
I know he was supposed to be a tight end originally.
He looks like a tight end.
They thought he was a tight end.
The whole knock was great body, not a wide receiver. Great body, like Evander Holyfield. Like great body, not a wide receiver. Like he looks good, but he don't drive. But look at that fool. I love that kind of stuff. He is a beast. But I like sexy defenses, man. I like when Cam Chancellor was back there wrecking fools. I like when Ray Lewis was there. I like when Terrell Suggs was killing fools. I just think good defenses, like when Vrabel came in and I knew that our defense was going to be hemmed up, I was like, the Titans are going to be good. And look at us. We're 2 quarters away from going to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
You know, we're playing against a good Kansas City team. We're winning at halftime. Patrick Mahomes is he's another level. He's a video game. You know,
it's just not going to be fair.
They got to shore up their defense right now.
They do. They need that.
They're and not to mention, actually, to be honest, their offense too, but their defense really needs to get fixed right now because it's putting pressure on the offense.
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be in a 50-point shootout with everybody. You know what I mean? And so your defense needs to show up.
I can tell you guys this from a defensive player's point of view. When you have an offense that hangs up that many points, it can be enticing as a defensive player to click off a little bit because you think your boys are going to carry it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if there's a fist fight in the parking lot and Joe is known for knocking everyone out, you might show up and not start throwing punches quickly enough because you're like, Joe's got it. And then eventually the fight's over and you're like, shit, we got our ass whipped.
Yeah.
Joe's going, why didn't you help? Like, I thought you had
it. Sounds like our old bass player Todd whenever he'd get into a little trouble at the ball.
Oh, but did he like to get into scraps?
Oh, his thing was, and it's funny because I'm not the biggest dude either. I was just bigger and stronger than him. But he would get into trouble talking shit because he's sometimes an idiot or all the time. And his thing was, JT. that was his move.
Yeah, he was almost about to every time.
He was like, the boys that Joe ever see the Key and Peele shit. where the girlfriend was always talking shit and putting it on. Did y'all see that?
Oh my God, yes.
Like
one of
that.
the best skits. Yeah.
You're like, stop that shit, because I gotta step up.
Put this
Yeah.
in
I gotta go.
perspective, Ryan. Todd was 6'3", Joe?
Yeah.
That's not true. Andy was a bitch.
6'3".
Not
No,
a-
get this. And this is not an exaggeration. He weighed 120 pounds soaking wet.
Yes.
He was the
I don't like that.
skinniest
Yeah,
human
he's
being
probably six. Yeah, it's probably
I've ever
probably
seen in my
6'3".
life.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He was 6 what now?
Probably 6'3".
6'3", 120
6'3".
pounds, 120 pounds soaking wet.
There's
Yeah.
no way that fool was 120 pounds.
I swear to God. I swear on my life. Oh, well, I mean, he may have been 130, but
no way. That's like DJ. Damn. That is a no, bro. You got to get some McNuggets.
he's like my arm. Listen, Ryan, greatest player of all time. Go.
In the
what?
NFL or in the NBA?
You know what I'm talking about. Just go.
We're talking.
Ryan,
Hey, you there?
yeah. What's
Oh,
up?
I thought I lost you fools for a minute. Greatest player of all time in the National Basketball League.
already know who that
I'm going to
is.
say Kobe
It's actually
Bryant.
the National Basketball Association, but I know what you're saying.
The NBL, it's a
The
different thing.
NBL, bro.
I'm going with Kobe.
Oh, okay.
Kobe Bryant is the greatest player of all
That's
time.
that's a first. I haven't heard that in
I'm going
in a
Kobe.
while.
I'm going to go with Kobe over MJ, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Kobe had
Whoa. Are you
fuck,
putting
guys,
LeBron third?
I'm putting LeBron second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm putting MJ third.
Yeah, he's got
Fuck
MJ
How about
there.
that?
How about that?
you.
How about that?
How about
Kobe
that for
over
breaking
MJ?
I'll
news?
tell you why. I mean, look,
Explain yourself.
I feel like Kobe had what MJ has, and LeBron to a degree, but that if Kobe had the rock in his hand with 4 seconds left and they were down 2, there was a time where they were not losing the game. They were not losing the game. And I can tell you this as a Rockets fan because, you know what I mean? I've had my heart broken a lot of times. But, like, there was a time, like with MJ, where if Kobe had the rock and he could get a look at the rim, he was knocking that
You're
bitch
saying
down.
that like
And
you're saying like in his peak, there was just a time where he was just the best that had ever won.
He
You
was
know
like,
what? You
"Give
know
me
what?
the fucking
When
ball."
that season that he scored 81 and those 3 seasons around there, I actually was like, wow, we might be seeing a new greatest of all time. Just because he was so good in that moment, that window of time that you were like, how could anybody be better than this guy is playing right now?
Yeah.
He's
I think
just so good.
I think if
And
Kobe
look,
had LeBron's IQ, he would be the greatest. I think the thing that keeps me off of putting Kobe up there is sometimes he was a killer to a fault where he would shoot his team.
Yeah,
He
but-
shot his teams out of just as many games as he shot them in.
But that's the thing.
yes,
though.
that's true. Yes, that is true. But if we want to knock him for that, do you want to start talking about fucking LeBron at the free throw line? Because you don't want to have that conversation. Because I've seen that motherfucker build some houses at the free throw line.
LeBron just now in this game 6 and
I mean,
game
build
5
some
and 6
houses.
was 70% from the free throw line. Oh, you're
fucking free throws. That is a shame. There were times about LeBron being the best ever, and I literally was like, you can't hit the rim from the free throw line.
I don't worry about
free throw shooter.
I don't worry
Whoa,
I don't worry about
He only got a 3-point shot about 4 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I like LeBron.
LeBron just showed up. LeBron just showed up at the free throw line real big in these past 2 games. I don't worry about him at the free throw line, but what I'm saying as far as Kobe goes, his decision making has hurt him in those, and I think that's why a lot of people don't put him up there because he has all the talent to be up there.
That's the argument, though. That's the argument, and MJ, Kobe, LeBron is, and that's why I separate IQ and mentality. Because you want to hear IQ, listen to Kobe talk about the game. I mean, it's like he's beyond. I mean, in my opinion, he's got just as high of an IQ as LeBron. But that's mentality. First of all, LeBron has a different style of play, totally different style of play.
Yeah.
He's more of a magic.
How many rings did Kobe have?
5,
How many did Michael have?
6,
6,
How many did LeBron have?
4.
4 now.
Right.
More-
So
more
it's hard
possible
because
coming,
yeah, maybe.
I'm
maybe.
saying he's
I
still
don't know if they're gonna
playing.
get-
Like,
Yeah, he's still going. Look, it's very this conversation boils down to like it's immeasurable. It's unquantifiable. What passion is what drives this conversation. Because if you could look at stats and be like, you can do it, right? You can look at field goal percentage. You can look at minutes played. You can look at points. You can look at all these different sort of variables, but it's like air. You can't measure it. It's not like you're pouring water into a beaker and you're like, this is a cup. It's like, we all have different opinions because we know you got to get out of here. We know that as long as LeBron is leaving, the measurable is going to move. It's going to be fluid because somebody is moving the goalposts for LeBron. Every time he does something, somebody creates a new goalpost, a new metric by which to measure greatness by. Right.
So it's going to be fluid, and it's going to be moving for the rest of his life.
But I will also say that there have been a lot of measurements that no one even talked about that since the argument with LeBron and MJ has started, all of a sudden are really big measurements. I'm like, no one's ever talked about that when they talk about the greatest of all time. Like, but everyone wants that.
There's
edge.
new shit popping up every day.
Well, who scored the most points in the 8th minute of the 4th quarter when they were down by 16
right.
Brian, thanks so much.
I don't know who. Before I bounce, I don't know who in our. I mean, look, everyone thought Zion was going to be LeBron 2.0.1.
He's got to learn to shoot first.
So who knows?
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't think it's Giannis.
No.
I don't know who comes around. Look, obviously you've got guys like Steph. You got guys like KD. I mean, I think
I'm looking at the Jason Tatums. I'm looking at the next gen. I'm looking at the Jason Tatums and those guys because these other guys who were supposed to take the crown, it ain't happening for them. And I think Jason Tatum is just young and he's coming and his game is going to mature. He's going to surpass Giannis and Kyrie and all these other guys.
You know what I love about Tatum is he's got dogs around him. He's got a really good young coach that they're growing together. Yeah. I hope they keep Hayward. And I hope that unless he goes to the Warriors, I hope they keep Marcus Smart. But there has been some talks about that. But
I like Marcus. He's a good defender.
You need guys like that.
My fear is that Tatum, like James, doesn't have the werewolf inside of his heart. You know what I mean? That like you see Jason on the sidelines. Yeah, like he's a little bit. That player that's not having a very good game. And he wills himself into the game. I haven't yet seen. I got boys that are huge Celtics fans. I haven't seen him yet. I want to see if he can.
He'll get. He's got to grow.
Waiting to see because he's got all the skills. I just want to see that because that's the thing. That's the difference between superstars and just really good players. I mean, this NBA, everyone is excellent. To be like, I remember when Donovan Mitchell splashed onto the scene and I was like, this motherfucker is not scared. Look at Tyler Hero. This bitch, Tyler needs to learn how to defend. But these kids are the moment is not too big. They're like, they want the ball. They play slow when everyone else is going too fast. And so I just want to see, look, dude, I love hoops. I just am ready. I'm ready for the new batch to show up. So maybe Tatum.
I think it's going to be out of that new batch.
You want to see Tatum be Jimmy Butler up here. And this is the thing. Miami, if they get one more thing, because the East is going to be different next year, if they get one more little piece, Miami might be around for a long time.
Well, Jalen Rose is talking about Miami getting Giannis. So we'll see if that happens. Ryan,
Warriors.
Ryan, thanks so much for coming on, man. We got to get you back as soon as we can. Thank you so much.
I loved it, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, bud.
Peace, guys. Peace, fellas.
I am at Joe Cannon 33 everywhere on everything. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow Backstage Sports on everything. And make sure you turn on your notifications on YouTube so you know when we are dropping another video.
I am at JT Harker on all of the social medias and at JT Harker Sports covering our fantasy league and also sports in general, all the stuff Joe doesn't let me talk about on this show. And
we talk about everything, including your new OnlyFans page and all of that. So
Oh God.
we're no holds
Dude,
bars here.
I gotta tell you some funny things about that actually.
Oh
But
yeah.
maybe I have a subscription. Not really.
We're gonna
But,
talk about we need an extensive OnlyFans talk next episode. It's coming because
Also, for
there's some
everyone,
things happening.
we should just have a OnlyFans podcast.
Yeah.
But for everyone listening, first of all, thank you to Ryan for coming on the show. He's one of my good friends that I wish I was able to see more. But he is also, and I used to be a personal trainer. He's the best trainer I know. A master's degree in kinesiology, and his handle is at Farhoudi Fitness. It's FARHOUDI, Farhoudi Fitness.
Yeah.
If you need a personal trainer, you're not going to find a better one. And that's it, man. Let's get out of here.
Yes, this has been another episode of the Backstage Sports Podcast. Until next time, be safe and be great. Peace.